chart in the thumbnail is not clickbait. People don't realize we're in the middle of a mega opportunity right now. And in this video, I'm going to explain that chart exactly and what it means for your chances of getting rich in the next 12 months. I'm also going to explain to you when it's possible alt season to start using historical data. After that, I'll quickly discuss whether I think the bottom is in and if you get a bounce soon. Then I'm going to finish off by discussing some quite compelling bearish cases we can expect for the market, specifically in regards to whether altcoins have topped for this cycle. So this is the key chart I wanted to share with you. This chart is altcoins versus Bitcoin, which means it tells us how well altcoins are performing versus Bitcoin as a whole. When this chart is going up significantly during a Bitcoin uptrend, that's basically what alt season is. The whole reason we're even in crypto in the first place is for alt season. It's that 90-day window where you can make 3 decades of savings. It's the period where you make the most amount of money. So by that logic, this is one of the most important charts we'll need to keep an eye on for this cycle. The first thing I need you guys to realize is altcoins crashing now and being down this much is completely normal, and it's actually going to provide the fuel for a proper alt season like in 2021. Now the reason I say it's normal is because this same pattern has repeated in every cycle so far, and that pattern is really simple. Bitcoin first bottoms on the USD chart, aka the bear market for Bitcoin finishes. Then altcoins will continue underperforming versus Bitcoin until it reaches its first bottom, which is the red bubbles on this chart. Then what happens is it goes on a nice long uptrend before crashing and entering the green bubble zone. And that's literally the exact same thing that's happening in this cycle. First, we had Bitcoin bottom with FTX in November 2022. Then we had altcoins bottom versus Bitcoin in summer 2023. Then we had a nice long uptrend up until March. And now we're entering the green bubble zone. So there's 3 really key takeaways from this chart. First, we're in the green bubble zone, which is the final opportunity you get to load up on altcoins, as you can see, based on the history. And the second point is, it does not make logical sense to become bearish at these price zones. Just take a look at this chart. In 12 months from now, what do you think people will be saying? I'm glad I didn't buy here, or I wish I could have bought there. The third thing is, every cycle, the general patterns repeat, but it's the nuances and the slight timing and variations and power of the rallies, which is always what catches people off guard. For example, even with this cycle, Bitcoin did something different by reaching its all-time high pre-halving. So something I always think about is, what if we're getting the typical 4-year cycle, but at every stage, people in the market always doubt it and assign different reasons for why this time is different? Because right now there's people discussing the probability that altcoins have topped for this cycle and it's a Bitcoin only cycle. We'll discuss that in proper detail at the end of the video. But for now, what I want to do is really hone in on this first key point, which is this is the final opportunity we get to load up on altcoins properly. So this actually brings me on to the next topic of this video, the analysis of the green bubble zone. We already know historically that this zone is what propels us into that real life-changing alt season. So we need to know how to maximize this opportunity. There's multiple ways to try and estimate when an alt season could start. The first being the simpler way, which is just looking at the past cycles and using the Bitcoin halving as an anchor point and seeing how long after that did the altcoin uptrend start. In 2016, it was 161 days after the halving. In 2020, it was around 231 days after the halving, which actually gives us this zone over here. From September to December of 2024 is when we could possibly see the real alt season start. The issue with this is, remember I said every cycle, the timings change, and these slight variations are what cause people to believe that this cycle is different. So don't rely on this as an indication of when alt season could start. It's just a supporting confluence tool. What will actually dictate when alt season starts is a large run up in the majors like Bitcoin and Ethereum. I have much higher conviction in this method of predicting alt seasons because last cycle, right over here, alt season started after Bitcoin had gone almost 2x above its last all-time high. This cycle, Solana alt season started once Solana pulled an insane 10x move and then just kept on going. And the reason this happens is purely linked to psychology of how people act when they start making a lot of money. It's the wealth effect. People make money on majors, they feel greedy, so they start pushing that out along the risk curve. So to answer the question of when alt season could start, we need some mega moves in Bitcoin or Ethereum. If you want that alt season that can retire you, it's going to start with Bitcoin and Ethereum stealing the show and pumping really hard. There's no real other way. Anyways, this is how my mind has framed this entire scenario that we're in at the moment. I believe we're in the midst of a potentially life-changing opportunity, and we need to prepare extremely well for it whilst we still have time. Q3, Q4 will come sooner than you think, and Bitcoin will only range and build a base for so long. So the question is, how do we prepare? And essentially all it comes down to is catching the new narratives early and positioning in the right coins. And third, being able to manage our portfolios, specifically in regards to the emotional side, cutting losses and being able to create a new portfolio from scratch. Mentally, you need to shift your thinking away from, shit, I'm now minus 50% to, I can make 500% in a matter of a few weeks in the next leg of the bull market with a refreshed portfolio. Of course, I'm going to be uploading the best research on YouTube throughout these boring summer months so we can get ahead of the curve. Make sure you subscribe if you already haven't. And I think the people who take the time out now during this period where nothing is going on in the market to really think about their portfolios and plan ahead are the ones who will do the best this cycle. Because to be honest, from here, you can't really fuck it up. You have no room for error beyond this point. Because everything up until now was a trial run, but because we're in this green bubble now, we're heading into the real thing now. So you really can't afford to make any big mistakes going forward. Which leads me on to my final and most important topic for this video. This is where I'm going to discuss the bearish case. I'm going to discuss two things. The first is the possibility we don't have a proper alt season like 2021 again. Second, we're going to discuss the probability that most altcoins have already topped this cycle. And this is what I was actually already alluding to with my refreshed portfolio idea that I've been discussing for quite a few weeks now. These two questions can make or break you this entire cycle, so keep an open mind and listen carefully. Firstly, let's discuss the probability that we don't have an extended uptrend for altcoins like in 2021. My personal opinion on this is, it sounds a lot like saying this time is different, and when you start dabbling in that sort of thinking, you're in dangerous territory. It's always safer to assume that things will rhyme as they have done in the past. I remember in the last cycle, there was similar sentiment like this towards altcoins when Bitcoin was pumping in December 2020. In summer 2023, actually, there was also very smart people on the timeline saying altcoins are finished, stay away from them. And that ended up marking the bottom. The second thing is, I made a tweet on this. The world is driven by envy. Once people see other people making money on something, they can't help themselves. Now, we can discuss the scenario of people being broke in real life and not having money to invest in crypto with. But interestingly, the demand for lottery tickets goes up when unemployment is high. So to me, that adds confluence to the idea that meme coins, which will be viewed as lottery plays, can still perform really well. But the biggest thing is, never underestimate the power of a few green candles to ignite FOMO back into the market and make everyone forget why they were bearish in the first place. So for the altcoin index to have topped for this entire cycle, I would say is very unlikely, mainly because, as I proved at the start of this video, nothing out of the ordinary is happening for this cycle. Now for the second bearish case, which is most altcoins that we know and like have topped for this cycle. Actually, before we start on this topic, please remember that these sorts of tweets never come out when everything is going good and the market is pumping. They always seem to come out when most of the damage is already done, so don't get too scared right now. But surprisingly, I actually do agree with this specific part quite a bit. There's no double bubble for the vast majority of altcoins in the fall. Now, the reason I agree with that is because of altcoin dispersion. We've already seen it happening in 2021. Remember, we had the first alt season and then the second one later in the year. A lot of the coins that were the best in March, April alt season were completely trashed to hold during the second alt season. And I can give you so many examples of this, like Cake, Doge, basically the entire BSC ecosystem, which could be what happens to Solana now, we never know. I've also seen it happen from 2023. There were coins like Dubs, Rollbit, Hero, all these bear market heroes. They literally did nothing during the entire bull market. So picking the right coins is more important than ever, and it's a sign that the market is maturing and the game is getting harder. But I was taught, don't bring up problems if you're not going to propose a solution. That's why I think The solution is, during the next leg, have a list of coins prepared that you are considering moving into that you think will perform well. I'll help you out with this. And then look at your current portfolio. If some of your current coins aren't moving with the market, you'll have to make the ruthless decision to cut those bags into stronger ones. Obviously, that doesn't apply if you've got a thesis or you have information about a coin that the market doesn't have access to. It also applies more towards low caps because it's easier for the market to completely forget about them. The good news is, however, actually discerning what's worth holding and isn't worth holding is quite easy in my opinion. It's taking profit that's harder. Finally, let's discuss if the bottom is in. My view has not changed from the last video. Being able to buy ETH at around 3 to 3.1k would be a gift. And I would expect most altcoins to stop bleeding once ETH gets into that zone. Also, I'd think of markets like a beach ball. The more it goes down, the more potential it has to go higher when the trend reverses. Most of the damage is already done, and flipping bearish now on altcoins is late. That doesn't mean we won't get one more scare down. Right now, sentiment is bad, but there is still hope in the market. And if you want an all-season that's as powerful as this one here, you really need people to believe it's over for altcoins and to sell their bags at huge losses. The only question I have for you is, if other people start being stupid and start panic selling at minus 60-70% down, are you going to join them, or do you have the fortitude to just wait it out? If you're really scared, there should be a bounce soon, and you can use that as an opportunity to consolidate into Bitcoin or Ethereum. No financial advice. Thanks for watching, and be sure to join the Discord and follow me on X. Remember, I said this summer is all about preparation for me, preparing for that next leg of the bull market.